Hi guys, just Tim from TJ Payload. Just wanted to do a video today on American trucks and which truck may suit your use and need. Something we get a lot of phone calls about. Something I've got a bit of experience in. I've owned Patrols, Rangers, F-150s and 2500 Silverado now. And I've towed big loads of them all, so got a bit of experience in that area. Driving them, towing with them, I've taken them to the Cape, things like that. So just want to do a bit of a rundown on the trucks and hopefully give you a bit of advice on selecting what suits you, because at the end of the day, the big thing of an American truck is just because everyone on YouTube's got a big Chevy 2500 with all the fruit that's worth 350 grand, doesn't mean that's going to suit how you use the truck, which is the most important thing. So first off, we're going to go in, we're going to break it down, we're going to see which American trucks suit you and your needs. That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter what suits everyone on YouTube, it's what suits you and how you're going to use the vehicle. And first off, if you're after a polished presentation, this isn't going to be it. That's not us. We're not a proper production. This has just been filmed on my phone. I do apologise for a bit of the glare on the screen, but it's better than me writing on the whiteboard, which I used to do. This digital whiteboard's actually really good. So we'll go into the next part. 1500 series truck. So what's a 1500 series truck? For a 1500 series truck, we're looking at things like the Ford F-150, the Silverado 1500, the Ram 1500, the Toyota Tundra. Now these are your entry-level American trucks. In America, these trucks, essentially our Hilux workmates, they're their daily work utes. They're not used for massive big towing. Tow companies aren't hauling with these things. They aren't really hooking many fifth wheelers and stuff up to the 150 series trucks. That's their base level, that's their Toyota workmate, Hilux, pop pack, so to speak, type truck. In Australia, when we first got them brought here, everyone sort of thought, oh yeah, awesome, they're going to be the answer to all our towing and GVM problems. And they weren't, and they were never going to be. That's not what they are designed to do as such. Most of them come with a 700 to 800 kilo payload. I think the Bighorn now in the Ram comes closer to 900 kilo payload, but most of them in that 700 to 800 kilo payload range from stock before you're over your GVM. Now, the issue with that can be if you're putting on a 4-ton van with a 400 kilo ball weight, I know for a fact that you're going to be putting close to 480 on the rear axle just off that ball weight because of the leverage. I weighed an F-150, I've weighed a 2500, it adds about 80 kilos extra to the ball weight by the time it gets to the rear axle because of the length of these trucks. And they do push their rear axle limits. We're not going to go into rear axle limits too much today, but they do push their factory rear axle limits. From my experience in having a 150 series or 1500 series truck, if you can get away with, they are brilliant. There are GVM upgrade options out there now for the F-150, for the Silverado and the Ram to increase your GVM. GSM's not a massive issue with them. There may be some GSM upgrades in the future, but it's not a massive issue as much as what the payload capacity is. From my experience, they are fantastic to drive around. I drove mine around. So I took my F-150, my current series F-150 to the Cape. Had no problems parking, even before that and after that, driving around here in Hobart. Had no issues at all. A little bit longer than a Ranger, a little bit wider than a Ranger. You can fit in most car parks. You can drive it like a daily and have no issues with that. So it's really good for tradies. They can be daily driven with not too much fuss. They are family friendly. If you've got a family, there's lots of room inside of them. Lots. That's a big thing we love. Whether you go for a short wheelbase or a long wheelbase, we had a short wheelbase F-150. We had the Clarity version, so we didn't have the Australian version, but still it was a brilliant truck. The tub space, that if you're doing a trip or a lap or a half a lap, towing around the country, brilliant vehicle. The space, once you get into these American trucks, it makes Australian stuff look crap. It really does. And they're good for practical for tradies, these things too. Probably okay. I've just realised I've doubled up there, but that's fine. They're okay for probably up to about 4 tonne. And that's GVM dependent, obviously, too, guys. So if you're pushing over 4 tonne, like I'll use my F-150 as an example, and mine was imported, so mine had a little bit more payload. I think it's about 150 kilos more payload than the Australian version. I had a smart cap canopy on the back and my van on the back, dog, wife, 2 kids, younger kids, bang, that was it. We were on our rear axle limit, 100%. Couldn't put anything else in it. That's with no GVM upgrade, and that was with the van at 3.8. And our van was probably a bit light on the ball. So it is something that you can really push. So probably 3.5 to 4 tonne would be fine. If you're a couple towing a larger van, not having a canopy, not having a lot of gear in the car, then that's fine. If you're going to start adding things like canopies, drawers, fridges, things like that, you're going to be pushing your payload, and you're probably going to need to look at something like a GVM upgrade for it. And then I don't know from personal experience with the Australian V6s, the Hemis can pull it okay, and the Silverados. I mean, they've all got their issues, but yeah, they can definitely do it. And you know, you're looking Land Cruiser money, 300 series money, 120, 140 grand for this sort of truck now to either way. But yeah, it's definitely a good option, but you will have to probably do a GVM upgrade if you want it for towing a caravan and touring the country and you want to load it up with gear. So yeah. We will go to the 2500 series now. 2500 series of trucks. Other trucks such as F250, which are normally imported, grey imports, no one's doing like a factory conversion. You've got guys like VDC, Brilliant Conversions, they do them. Chevy Silverado 2500 through GMSV, and the Ram 2500 through Ram Australia. These things can vary a lot too, depending on licensing, so I'll just get that off the bat. But we're talking NB1 off the showroom floor, which is a car license. So up to 4.5 tonne, you can have a car license. After 4.5 tonne GVM, you've got to have a truck license. So on a car license, payloads generally between 7 to 800 kilos off the factory floor. Awesome for towing, 100% awesome for towing. Caravans, toy haulers, farmers, excavators, all that sort of stuff. These things will just pull all day. If you need a workhorse and you want it to be comfortable, these are the rigs for you. They're less practical for daily use due to size. Don't get me wrong, you can drive them daily. You just got to be a bit more selective where you park, because in outdoor car park you might be parking at the back, taking up 2 spaces, making yourself on Tasmanian parking fails, all this sort of stuff on Facebook, but anyway, who cares? 100% capable of towing up to 4.5 tonne. They have a bigger chassis, they have a massive big chassis rail. I think they are all diesel. I'm pretty sure they're all diesel. You've got Cummins, Duramax, Power Strokes, and they have an NB2 option for larger payloads. What does that mean? It means you can have a larger payload if you run it on a light truck license and get it registered on an NB2. Now there are some pros and cons for that. Pros obviously the payload, cons 0 blood alcohol, and you've got to have a light truck license. But you can get a lot more payload out of them. I currently own a Chevy 2500 and I'll do some videos on that soon. I'm only going NB2 because I need that extra payload. You can tow a 4 to 4.5 tonne van on the stock payload. You can do it. If you're a couple and you're not loading up the car with a lot of gear, 100% you can do it. But once you start putting any gear on these things, you're gonna have to look at NB2. You put a canopy on the back, something like an RSI Smart Cap that's 100 odd kilos, 2 people in the front, and a little bit of gear in the back, bang, you're on your limit, because they're putting a 400 kilo ball weight's going to 480 on the axle, and I will show you a video on that another day. So you can definitely tow well with these. These are great if you're traveling full time on the road. You've got a family, 2 kids, a dog, a lot of gear, and you're living in your van, traveling full time. NB2 and one of these, can't go wrong. Honestly, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. If you just wanted to drive around town as a tradie, yeah, it's an option. But it's up to you what's more practical depending on where you're parking and things like that, whether a 1500 series might be a better option for you than a 2500 series truck. But yeah, with NB2, the payloads are huge. Something like the Chevy, I think goes up to 5200, you can get Chevy upgrades to 5500. The Ram and F250 do vary a little bit. But also NB2, there's other things you can do, like we're talking other lifts and stuff, but we're not going into that sort of thing at the moment. Let's go to 3500 series trucks. Not many of them here. Most of them are grey imports, except for the Ram. I don't think they bring the 3500 in through GMSV, and they definitely don't bring the 350 in through Ford. The Ram is definitely done through Ram Australia. The big difference between the 2500 Ram and the 3500 Ram, and this is why if I was going to go for a Ram, for towing and going to look at MB2, I'd be going the 3500 because it's leaf sprung. The 2500 is coil sprung, the Ram 3500 is leaf, and the main advantage to that is leaf sprung vehicles just tow better. They do it, and people are going to argue with me, I'm telling you now, they tow a lot better. So, especially when you're talking these sort of weights. So if you're looking at a Ram 2500 and you're thinking of going MB2, just buy 3500 and go MB2. Don't waste your time and money buying 2500 and wish you bought the 3500 and start. 1000 kilo plus payload, all these are normally MB2. I think the 3500 you can get MB1, but you probably wouldn't. Massive payload, built for towing. You know, these things are towing bloody truck trailers in America. You know, fifth wheel hitches, all this sort of thing. That's what these things are built to do. They're not practical for daily use. Actually, most of them, well, they all use a similar platform to the 2500 series, so size isn't that much bigger. So in regards to that, it's okay. Like, they're not physically much bigger. It's just that they don't bring all these in, so they're harder to get, except for the Ram. So if you're looking for a Ram, skip the 2500, go straight to 3500, or go 1500. The 2500, don't even know why it's there. Things to consider when you're looking at an American truck: towing capacity and its licensing laws. Do you want to get a truck license or don't you? That's the first question. If you don't, well, you're pretty much going to 1500 or 2500 anyway. And how much payload you need, and the rear axle ratings. We're not going to go into that too much. Cost of ownership, rego, tyres, servicing, service network, licensing, especially when you're talking registrations and licensing for MB2. When you're looking at the conversions, who does them, quality does vary, the way they do them does vary. Some companies like GMSV and everything that comes out of Walkinshaw for the Rams and stuff, they do a complete firewall conversion. VDC do the same. Some other companies might use a wobble bar setup and steering boxes, excuse me. So there is some difference. But the big one is, what are you using it for? How are you going to use it? And what are you going to do with it afterwards? If you're buying a car for a lap, okay, I'm going on a lap in 6 months. I'm going to buy a Chevy 2500, and then when I come back, I'm just going to drive it to work every day. Okay, no worries. Going for 12 months, come back, and you park on the side of the road every day at work. You're not going to park a Chevy 2500 on the side of the road every day at work. Private car park, not a problem. So you've really got to think about how you're going to use the vehicle in the day-to-day before and after your trip if you're buying a vehicle for a trip, and not just about the trip. Or if you intend to come back and then sell it, you know, these are all things you've got to think out when you're looking at what vehicle you're going to buy, especially in the American truck series. So it's just, any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I've probably been a bit quick in it. But from my experience, the 150 series, 1500 series trucks are good for that 3 to 3.8, pushing 4 ton mark with GVM, no problem. You start going, if you're towing vans now, which are AXMs up to 4.5 ton, you start looking at the 2500 series, and you know, fifth wheels and things like that, you're looking at the 3500 series trucks. But that's just my opinion on it, guys. And I just wanted to, there's a lot of companies out there that are, like, these things are all over the place at the moment, and people doing big crazy builds, and I've got a 2500 out there that we're doing a build on, but we're not lifting it 6 inches, we're not jacking it up. It's going to be a bit more of a subtle build on it, and I'll run you through all that over the next few months as we do it. But yeah, that's just a quick rundown on American trucks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe if you want more of this sort of stuff. Give us a thumbs up, and please leave comments. I will respond to them. Thanks, guys.